because of what we saw yesterday, John, and everybody started talking about this. This is why this podcast is different than so many others, right? You and I, two former professional linebackers in the NFL, and then going into the finance world. So we always have these sports, and it doesn't always have to be football, but football is pretty damn popular. So I'll say this. Everybody yesterday was talking about Odell Beckham. Everybody. Anywhere you looked, whether it's on the sports side, ESPN, or on the financial side, John, a lot of people talking about, well, this guy did a really nice job because he got paid in Bitcoin, which pretty interesting. A lot of players have done that, but he's not the king. And for some reason, he got the crown yesterday. Maybe it's name, whatever. But, John, how about Russell Okung? Now, this guy was the 6th pick in the entire draft, went to the Seattle Seahawks, played at multiple different places after that. But when Russell signed his contract, he had 50% of the $13 million contract was in Bitcoin. And the reason that's important is this was also 2010. Bitcoin, do you know where Bitcoin was trading back in 2010? It's outrageous. If this guy hung on to that, John, we're talking billions, not millions. And it's an unbelievable thing that he did this. But you got to love it. And I just thought that guy needed a little love because there were multiple players. Aaron Rodgers is another guy who did some of his payment in Bitcoin and so forth. I mean, there's a myriad of different athletes and not just NFL guys, but I thought Russell Okung, now this is guys from Nigeria originally, played at Oklahoma State, and then he was up there in Seattle, bounced around all over the league. But those are big numbers, John, pretty exciting numbers. And I wanted to give him a shout out because I thought that was so damn impressive.
Yeah, well, Pete, I knew that Odell Beckham Jr. got paid in that too, got paid in Bitcoin. And he wasn't at the top of his game at that point, so he got paid well. But in 21, Pete, he signed his contract and he was getting $750,000 from the Rams. Now, it fell after that. In fact, Bitcoin was 64,000 at that time. It went all the way below 17,000 during the crypto winter in 22. Now, if he held, and he'd have to have some guts to hold, but if he held, he did really, really well. Didn't make the same money as Russell, but he definitely grew it back to about $1.4, $1.5 million instead of the $750 that he was paid. And keep in mind, the dollar keeps shrinking in its value, but Bitcoin has kept going up, Pete.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was pretty exciting for a lot of people reading about Beckham, and it is exciting because basically it doubled, right? I mean, the 750 is almost 1.5 million, so not so bad. All props to all those guys for having the guts to do some of that, or maybe even a little bit crazy, but nonetheless, it worked out pretty damn well for all these guys. All right, do we got a little video coming up here, John, on Teddy Bridgewater?
We do. Let's take a look at what and I'm right there with Pete when Pete sent me this, folks, and he said, hey, have you seen what they're doing to Teddy Bridgewater, former quarterback for the Vikings and a bunch of other teams? And then the guy basically says, hey, I want to be a football coach. And he doesn't go to some football factory like IMG or some of these others, Matter Day or some of these. Instead, he goes down to some poor school in Florida and basically takes them from 4-8, I think, to a state championship. So we wanted you guys to see this video.
Bridgewater just got suspended for the dumbest reason ever. So everyone remembers Teddy, right? NFL quarterback, played for like 55 different teams.
He's the guy who almost
Teddy
had his
retired and
leg
decided he's going to become a high school football coach for Miami Northwestern. The year before Teddy becomes coach, they go 4-6. The next year when Teddy is the coach, they win a state championship. But it was just announced about an hour ago that Teddy has been suspended for giving impermissible benefits to players.
Impermissible benefits. Listen to what these are,
Teddy's
folks.
giving them a bunch of gifts and prizes and trying to recruit a little bit more, right? Not even close. We've come to find out that Teddy has spent over $200,000 on his team and his players just to make them better. He spent 14 grand on the entire team last year to bring them to a camp. $9,500 on pride sets, which I'm assuming are just like team gear. $300 a week to keep the field painted. $1,300 a week to have recovery trucks come service the players before games. $2,200 to feed the team before every game. He spent $700 a week on Ubers for all of his players.
Being a
the whole
great
thesis
person.
behind him getting suspended was
Yeah.
to keep the amateur
What if
high
Pete?
school
What
sports.
if
But
the
personally,
school
I think it's complete
had
bullshit. He's not
provided
bringing players
that
to
for the
clubs or giving
players?
them $200
Right.
But they
for
couldn't
every
afford
touchdown.
to.
He was giving them
And they wouldn't do
necessities
it
that the
probably
team
just
needs
for
to
40 or
compete
50
and be
players,
a team.
however many
Honestly, it's
people
just
they have.
complete
But
bullshit
instead,
that
this
Teddy's
guy,
getting
Teddy,
punished for
is
helping
being a
those
stand-up guy,
kids
and he's
because he
helping
I
all
already know
these
this is gonna spark
players
so many debates
become
about
something
NIL
more
and
than
stuff.
they might have been otherwise.
And he was always considered a stand-up guy. His whole career, that was great, by the way. His whole career, he always was a stand-up guy. He was that guy. Everybody loved Teddy Bridgewater. He had this unbelievable injury when he was playing with the Vikings, where he damn near had to take off his leg from the knee down because of what happened to his leg on the field. So this guy has seen the best and the worst parts of the NFL. But here's some of the stuff, John, that he did. Pre-game meals. Oh, okay. So that's really awful that he's providing these guys who probably don't have much money, and he's providing them with a pregame meal. That sounds terrible. How about the Uber rides? But what were they for? For practice, because not everybody is right next door. And so, they got to reach out. So he provided Uber. So you had the field maintenance that he talked about. That cost $300 to, mow the grass once a week, all those types of things. This guy is as quality a guy as they get. He should be a guy that people are just like talking about what a great person he was. He didn't go out there and come to guys and say, hey, here's $500 if you come over from your school to my school. That's not what he was doing. And, so I think somebody really screwed up on this thing, and the suspension is idiotic, but he is so adamant about the fact that, well, whenever that's done, I'm their coach. I will be their coach. And I'm going to probably, he didn't say this, but it felt like he said, and I'm going to have to do it the way I think it needs to be done. And if these guys need to have a little bit of help along the way, I think it's like Santa Claus. The guy is phenomenal. We should be holding him up as the guy that everybody should model themselves after, right?
Yep, absolutely we should, Pete. A guy giving back like this, a guy that made it to the very top, because that's one of the most elite clubs, and that's why Pete should be and is so proud of his time in the NFL. And I had, 4 games. But for a guy to be at the top of that, not just in training camp like me, but, all the way to the top, and a starting quarterback for an NFL team. There's only 32 of those guys in the whole world, and he's one of them. That's pretty amazing. So we've got another one for you tomorrow, folks. I won't tell you who it is, but another guy that really gave back and really makes athletes look like they're more than just, showing up in a club and, making it rain and drinking like fools and driving 120 miles an hour down the Vegas Strip. There's lots of guys like that. There are fewer guys that give back like Teddy, but they're, it's fair to say a lot of these guys really do pay attention to how lucky they were to get where they got. So we're going to tell a story of one of the most famous athletes on earth tomorrow on the Rebels Edge. And I forget, Pete, what time is that tomorrow?
1 p.m. Eastern time.